Don't show your face at Dad's 50th, you bring shame, my sister mocked after I covered $9,700 in expenses. You make $18 per hour and think you matter? She sneered. No face, no party. I smirked, canceling venue, catering, decorations, and blocking every credit line. Within hours, I got 101 missed calls from almost every guest. Don't you dare show your face at Dad's 50th, Jason. Jessica's voice was sharp, cutting through my silence like a blade. She didn't even wait for me to say hello when I picked up. I wasn't surprised. This was how most of our conversations went these days, if you could even call them conversations. You bring shame to this family, she continued, her voice dripping with disgust. You make $18 an hour and you actually think you deserve to be there? Pathetic. I felt my jaw tighten, but I said nothing. I'd learned a long time ago that words were weapons in my family, and Jessica was always armed to the teeth. You don't belong at the country club, Jason, she went on. You'll embarrass Dad. All his friends will be there. People with real careers. Real money. Not some low-level IT nobody who lives paycheck to paycheck. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting her words wash over me like they always had. The familiar sting. The quiet humiliation. The reminder that no matter what I did, it was never enough. But this time, something was different. Jessica, I finally said, my voice steady. I paid for this entire party. The venue, the catering, the decorations, almost 10 grand. Out of my own pocket. She laughed. Actually laughed. That mocking, condescending laugh I'd heard since we were kids. Oh, please. You should be grateful we even let you pay, she sneered. You think that buys you a seat at the table? No, Jason. You're the help. That's all you've ever been. No face, no party. Her words echoed in my head, each one hitting like a slap. It wasn't the first time I'd been treated like this. For years, I'd been the one holding them all together. Picking up the pieces. Covering the bills. Making the sacrifices. And every single time, I told myself maybe, just maybe, this would be the moment they finally saw me as part of the family. But they never did. I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to stay calm. But inside, something was breaking. Or maybe it was finally being rebuilt. I smiled, not because I found anything funny, but because the decision had been made. No face, no party, I repeated softly. Got it. And with that, I hung up. What Jessica didn't know, what none of them knew, was that this time, I wasn't going to just take it. This time, I was done playing their game. This time, they were about to learn exactly how much power I really had. For years, I thought I was helping. Now I see, I was feeding a monster. It started small. It always does. Jessica had always been the golden child, the perfect daughter, the shining example. And me? I was just Jason, the responsible one. The one who cleaned up the messes, wired the money, never asked questions. But Jessica, she knew how to play everyone. Last year, after her third failed relationship and another job she somehow lost unfairly, the money problems began again. She called, crying, saying she couldn't cover her credit cards. Jason, you know I'd never ask if it wasn't serious. I'm trying, but life's been so unfair lately. So I paid. I always did. But behind my back, she was telling a different story. I first noticed the shift when my Aunt Susan stopped returning my calls. Then Uncle Greg started giving me cold one-word replies in the family group chat. Eventually, even Mom's texts became more distant. At first, I thought I was imagining things, that maybe they were just busy. But the truth hit me like a brick when my cousin Matthew accidentally forwarded me a screenshot from another group chat. Jason's not well. He's been stealing from Jessica for months, Jessica had written. We're worried about him. He's so resentful of our success. He's trying to turn the family against me. There it was plain as day. She was poisoning them. I couldn't breathe for a moment. Stealing? I was the one paying her debts. But she wasn't finished. Weeks later, it escalated. My dad called me out of nowhere, his voice cold, different. Son, we need to talk. Your sister told us everything. If you're struggling, just admit it. But dragging Jessica down? That's unacceptable. I tried to explain. I tried to tell them the truth, that I'd been bailing her out for years. But they wouldn't listen. Mom cut in. Why would Jessica lie? She's your sister. Family doesn't lie. They always said that. Family doesn't lie. Except, they always lied. And then came the fake evidence. I don't know how she did it. Maybe some cheap app or a friend who knew tech. But somehow, Jessica created screenshots of text messages that looked like I was threatening her, demanding money back, even calling her names I never said. She even had audio files. Edited voice recordings, my voice, spliced and manipulated, stitched together from old voicemails. In one, it sounded like I was shouting, "You owe me. You're worthless." I had never said those words. Ever. But the timestamps? The tone? All carefully designed to look real. And for my parents, it was enough. "You need help, Jason," Dad said during one of our last calls. "We won't let you ruin Jessica's life any further." I hung up. That's when I realized. They didn't want the truth. They wanted a villain. And Jessica gave them one. All the while, the party planning continued, without me. Jessica took full control. She posted daily updates on Facebook, pictures of the venue, floral arrangements, the custom cake tasting. Every post ended the same way. All for Dad. I spared no expense, because family means everything. The comments poured in. "You're amazing, Jess. Your brother could learn a thing or two." I watched quietly as my own relatives applauded her with emojis and heart reactions, as if I didn't exist. As if I hadn't dropped nearly $10,000 into this party they pretended was hers. But Jessica made one mistake. She left digital fingerprints everywhere. I still had the payment receipts all in my name. The wire transfers, the invoices from the caterer, the florist, the event planner, everything tied back to my accounts. I saved everything. Every screenshot. Every message. Every transfer. Every lie. And then came the final public humiliation. 2 days before the party, my Uncle Tom posted in the family chat, "It's a shame Jason won't be at the party. Maybe it's for the best. He's been unstable lately." Then Aunt Susan chimed in. "Jessica worked so hard for this. Jason would have just made it uncomfortable. They weren't just excluding me. They were erasing me." Jessica had one. Or so she thought. It was supposed to be a casual coffee shop neutral ground. But I chose the Glass House, a small, quiet botanical cafe tucked behind an antique bookstore downtown. Bright glass walls, lush green plants hanging from every corner, soft instrumental music playing above the murmur of distant voices. It looked harmless, peaceful. That's why I picked it. Because today, peace was going to die here. They arrived together. Dad, leading the pack like always, stiff shoulders, sharp stare, voice clipped and cold. Jessica trailed behind him, sunglasses on, even though we were inside. Mom, as usual, hovered in between, eyes darting nervously, trying to read the air. They sat down across from me. Before anyone said a word, Dad fired the first shot. "Jason, let's not waste everyone's time. You've caused enough damage. Your sister has been through hell because of your accusations. This ends today." He leaned forward, voice low but sharp. "You're our son, but you need to take responsibility for what you've done. You've embarrassed this family." Jessica crossed her arms and smirked like the queen she thought she was. Mom simply whispered, "Let's just talk calmly, please." I didn't flinch. I prepared for this moment for months. Without speaking, I placed a thick folder on the table and slowly slid it toward the center. "Before we pretend who the victim is, let's look at the facts." Dad scoffed. "What is this, Jason?" "Receipts," I said calmly. I opened the folder. Inside, a timeline. Neatly printed transactions. Bank statements. The invoices for the venue, catering, decorations. My name on every one. "I paid for the party," I said flatly. "Every dime." Jessica hasn't spent a penny. Jessica's lips tightened. I kept going. "Here are the credit card payments I made to cover her debt last year. Here are the bank transfers I sent every month when Dad's investments collapsed. Here are the text messages where Jessica asked for help, not the ones she fabricated." I tapped the next page, color printouts of the doctored screenshots she'd created. I brought the originals and the fakes side by side. "It's impressive how far you went to create your little story, Jessica." Jessica's face twitched. She shifted in her chair but stayed silent. Dad's voice rose. "Enough of this crap, Jason. You're twisting everything. These are misunderstandings. Old issues. You're making it worse." "Are they?" I asked, still calm. I pulled out a USB stick from my pocket. This is a recovery from Jessica's own hard drive. She never deletes anything, including her audio montages. I pressed play on my laptop. The cafe filled with broken, poorly edited voice clips. My voice chopped, spliced. Choppy transitions. In 1 second I said, "You're worthless." The next, "You ruin everything." Anyone listening could hear it was fake. A bad collage of words. Jessica's face turned pale. That's when Mom finally spoke, softly but firmly. "Jessica, is this true?" Jessica froze. She opened her mouth, closed it again. Her lip trembled. I didn't mean for it to get this far, she stammered. He was trying to turn you against me. I had to protect myself. By inventing threats? I asked. Dad tried to jump in. Jason's always been unstable. You know how sensitive he gets. But Mom cut him off. Her voice cracked, but she was steady. No, Mark. No more. I can't keep pretending. I've seen enough. She turned toward Jessica. I defended you because you're my daughter. But this is sick. Jessica's eyes flooded with panic. Mom, don't do this. You lied. You used him. You twisted everything. Her voice broke. And we let you. The silence was brutal. Jessica suddenly stood up, grabbed her purse, and stormed out of the cafe, shoving past a waiter. Several customers turned to watch. Dad clenched his fists. You happy now? He growled at me. Not happy, I answered. Done. His face flushed with rage, but Mom grabbed his arm before he could say more. Tears ran down her face as she looked at me, not with anger, but with exhaustion. I'm sorry, Jason. I stood up. It's too late for sorry. And I left. Behind me, the perfect little glass cafe stood in silent ruins of their broken lies. They would never control me again. The meeting at the glass house was only the beginning. When I walked out of that cafe, I knew one thing. If I left them standing, they'd regroup. They always did. Lies were oxygen for them, cut off the supply, and they'd suffocate. I wasn't about to leave any air. 2 days later, I met with my attorney. Her name was Claire, cold, brilliant, and the exact kind of person you hire when you're done playing nice. We sat in her downtown office, and I laid everything on the table. Financial records, audio files, forged messages, fraud documents, the full archive of years they thought I'd stay silent about. Claire flipped through the files, not blinking once. They're going to regret underestimating you, she said flatly. The next morning, the first set of lawsuits were filed. Fraud, identity theft, defamation, financial exploitation, wire fraud, a full legal artillery strike. Jessica was served first. The look on her face when she opened the envelope priceless. She went dark on social media within 48 hours. Then came Dad. Claire's team dug up everything. The retirement fund he siphoned under my name, the unpaid taxes, the business loans co-signed with forged signatures. The IRS opened a parallel investigation within a week. He tried to fight back, send angry texts, voicemails full of threats. You want to destroy your own family? You'll regret this, Jason. I didn't respond. My attorney did. All further communication must go through legal counsel. Mom broke first. 3 weeks in, she sent me a long, emotional email. Jason, I know things got out of hand. We're still your parents. We can fix this. You don't have to go this far. Family should forgive, not punish. Please talk to me. I didn't reply directly. Claire sent back one sentence. All negotiations will be handled through our office. By month 2, the walls were closing in on all of them. Jessica faced multiple charges for falsifying evidence and identity theft. The judge froze her accounts while the investigation continued. Her influencer life vanished overnight. The last thing I saw was a desperate GoFundMe link she posted before taking it down. Nobody donated. Dad was hit even harder. The IRS issued fines. The state revoked his business license. The banks called and defaulted loans. His real estate empire, the same one he built on arrogance and lies, collapsed like a sandcastle in the tide. I heard from an old family friend that he sold his house within weeks to cover mounting legal fees. For years, they pulled strings behind closed doors, always confident I was too weak to fight back. They were right, once. Not anymore. By the end of the 3rd month, my attorney called me with the final update. We're done. Jessica pled guilty to several counts and avoided prison only through a plea deal, heavy fines, and permanent financial restrictions. Dad agreed to a massive settlement, part of which included compensation for the years of fraud committed under my name. The total compensation wired to my account made my hands shake for a moment when I saw the balance. It wasn't even about the money. It was the silence that came after. For the first time in years, no calls, no messages, no drama. They were gone. I was free. A month later, I scheduled an appointment at the courthouse. It was quick, quiet. The clerk barely looked up as I signed the paperwork. With one signature, I officially changed my last name. I left behind the name they used to control me, the name they used to stain with their lies. Now it belonged to them alone and to their failure. Walking out of that courthouse into the bright morning light, I felt something heavy finally lift off my chest. I wasn't hiding anymore. They didn't erase me. They forged me. I thought freedom would feel like rage, or victory, or vengeance, but it felt like silence. And silence was beautiful. For the first time in my life, I didn't wake up to texts demanding money. No guilt-tripping voicemails. No passive-aggressive messages disguised as concern. Just quiet. And her. I met Emily 3 months after the legal dust settled. At first, I wasn't even looking for anything. I was still rebuilding not just my life, but myself. I barely knew who I was without the constant noise of my family's demands. But she saw me, not the broken version of me, not the villain my sister painted, not the failure my father mocked me. We sat together one evening in my apartment, after I finally moved into a space that was mine, fully mine, no names on the paperwork except my own. The warm city light spilled through the windows as she quietly flipped through the folder I'd shown no one else. The entire history. The lies. The lawsuits. The destruction. The rebirth. I watched her face carefully as she read. When she finally looked up, there was no pity in her eyes. No fear. Only admiration. "You're stronger than any of them ever realized," she whispered. "And stronger than you think." That was the first time I believed it. The months passed like chapters one never thought I'd get to write. We built something together. Simple, honest, real. Morning coffee runs. Late night walks. Long talks about nothing and everything. She never asked for anything. She never made me feel like I owed her something just to be loved. But the past, like rot, always tries to resurface. It started small, an email from an unknown address. Then a text from a number I didn't recognize. Then another. And another. My mother. My father. Even Jessica. Their messages came like a desperate chorus. "We've made mistakes. Let's move forward. Family is forever. You've proven your point. Can we start fresh? Don't let outsiders poison your blood." Outsiders. That word said everything. They still saw Emily as a threat. Because she wasn't under their thumb. Because she didn't play their game. "They'll keep trying," I told her one night. "Then we'll keep ignoring them," she smiled. And we did. One evening, as summer finally surrendered to fall, we walked hand in hand through the city streets. The leaves painted the sidewalks in brilliant reds and golds. The air was cool, but her hand was warm in mine. We stopped near the Riverwalk, a place I used to avoid because it was filled with reminders of everything I thought I lost. Now, it was just another beautiful view. She leaned into me. "Do you ever regret cutting them off?" she asked softly. I thought for a moment. "No," I answered, "because I never really cut them off. They cut themselves off the moment they chose to break me." She squeezed my hand. "And they failed." I smiled. Not bitter. Not angry. Just free. The phone buzzed once more that evening. Another email. Another plea. I didn't even open it. Instead, I opened my camera, held it up, and took a picture of us, standing there, smiling, alive. The photo captured everything my family never understood. Peace isn't something you're given. It's something you fight for. As we walked back home under the city lights, I whispered, mostly to myself, but loud enough for her to hear. "They tried to bury me. Instead, I bloomed. And I meant it. Every word.